Tuko ready? Welcome to the last episode of our issue, Division of Matrimonial Property, Chapter 152 from Court Helicopter News, the only media house that teaches you the law, to know what the law says and not what people think about the law, not what the villagers are talking about the law. Today we are finalizing this episode with the most dramatic provisions of this law. We have defined what contribution is in marriage. We have defined what the property in marriage is. But what happens when you are at home and your husband decides to, when he's drinking his beer in a village bar, he enters into an agreement to sell your matrimonial property? Your boyfriend went out, your husband went out, or your girlfriend went out, and he moved away with the logbook. He goes and sells that car. You are seated at home, and the people are telling you, this land is being bought by an Indian, Dukawala. What will you do? What does the law give you to protect matrimonial property? The law is very, very protective on properties called matrimonial property. Listen what the law says. Number one, in section 12, the law provides how you can protect the property. Number one, that you can, as a spouse, go to a land registrar, put what is called a caution, put what is called a caveat to stop a sale. Remember, we said any property that is being sold that is matrimonial, there must be a spousal consent. A consent by the wife or a consent by the husband. Are you aware in these provisions, you cannot go to a bank and get a loan from a property that is matrimonial without your wife giving a consent? Are you aware that you cannot take money from any financial institution without a consent of the spouse? Section 12 provides that you can go to the you can write a letter to NTSA and tell the registrar of motor vehicles that that land Kevin wants to sell, that land that vehicle Omari wants to sell belongs to us. That vehicle will not be transferred. If you write a letter, a caution letter to the registrar of lands, that land will not be sold. So you have that power to stop any sale from being done on any property that is yours. 2, your husband walks to the bank and cheats that he is married to Mudhoni. Mudhoni has sworn an affidavit saying, I'm the wife and I have no problem selling this land. So you must be careful and you must be alert to be aware that your rights can be extinguished if you don't become alert. That is the first thing that the law protects, that property that is owned as a matrimonial property cannot be sold. It cannot be pledged as a loan. Many banks have lost cases in court where they did not seek the consent of the wife before they gave a loan to the man. So, you are starting a small Fuliza business in the village, you are starting a shylocking business, ensure that the husband or the wife of that person you are giving money consents you to give that person money. If you give that person money and there was no consent that was obtained from a wife or a husband, pesako wewe, imepotea under section 12 of that property. Number 2, what about eviction? What does the law talk about being evicted from a matrimonial home? Listen to this. Section 4 says, Section 3 says, a spouse shall not, during the subsistence of the marriage, be evicted from the matrimonial home by or in the instance of the other spouse, except by the order of the court. Has your wife told you, pack and leave? Have you ever come in the morning from drinking and find your clothes out, thrown out on your toilet? Kwenda kabisa, takataka, never come here. Has your husband ever chased you at midnight? Chased you from your matrimonial home? That is a lie. Let me repeat it. It happens every day. A spouse shall not, during the subsistence of the marriage, be evicted from the matrimonial home by or at the instance of the other spouse, except by the order of the court. So, get it clear. I'm sure people will start throwing stones at me that I'm inciting women not to be evicted. That is the law. If you want to evict your wife, get a court order. If you want to evict your husband, you get a court order. It is criminal to chase a wife at night. It is criminal to chase a man at night. Remember, nowadays, most of the houses, most of the homes, the women are the ones who are keeping the boys. The boys are cohabiting in houses that are paid by the women. And those boys have big cars, but they don't have the house. They come with a big car, park outside. At midnight, they are evicted. So now the law, you have gotten it very clear. Number 4, it is even more serious. It is eviction. How, once the court has given an eviction, how can a landlord evict somebody from a matrimonial home? It says, a spouse shall not be evicted from the matrimonial home by any person except on the sale of any estate or interest in the matrimonial home in execution of a decree, unless that house has been sold and the court order a decree is there to evict you. Number 2, by a trustee in a bankruptcy court order, and 3, by a mortgage or charge in exercise of power of sale or other remedy given under the law. Number 5, the matrimonial home shall not be mortgaged or leased without the written and informed consent of both spouses. Let me repeat it. A matrimonial home shall not be mortgaged or leased without the written and informed consent of both parties. Any matrimonial home, if you as a bank, as an institution, you give a mortgage on a matrimonial home without the consent of the other, you have lost. If you, as a man or as a woman, you take a mortgage on a matrimonial home without the consent of the other, you have lost. That is the position of the law. Matrimonial homes are not seen up to the end of the husband and wife. They are seen to be home for the children of that marriage. It is an inheritance for the children. The parents, that the husband and wife, are holding that matrimonial home as trustees for the children. Therefore, you cannot mortgage a matrimonial home. You cannot sell a matrimonial home because those properties belong to the children. Section 13 is very interesting. Have you done a wedding and you have been given a present by your father-in-law? A bed, a car, a house, an apartment as a gift. Have you bought your girlfriend an Uber, a Bolt car as a gift? Have you bought your boyfriend a good car, a sports car, as a gift? And you are mad, you have differed, you want your gift back? Can you reclaim a gift that you have given your spouse? Can your spouse you took to Hawaii for holiday, you spent a fortune, can you demand her to refund back? Let us come to the joke in town. As men, have you paid school fees to educate your girlfriend? Have you educated your wife? Have you educated your husband? And after you differ, you say, I have the receipts I paid at the University of Nairobi. Refund me. What does the law say on a gift? That is Section 15, and I read the way it is for everybody to understand. Where a spouse gives any property to the other spouse as a gift during the subsistence of the marriage, there shall be a rebuttable presumption that the property therefore belongs absolutely to the recipient. You can never reclaim back that gift. If you gave a gift to your wife, if you gave a gift to your husband, sahau kabisa, kama kaburi la sahau. What you have given as a gift, you can never return it back. That is the law that most of you now understand. Stop waylaying your spouse on Nyali Beach Road. Stop waylaying your husband on Kenyatta Road. Stop waylaying on Expressway and saying with a breakdown, lete hii gari nilikupa, sasa nasikia leo you have a new husband. That property, you can never reclaim it because that is a gift, and that will be the end of this controversial but very educative episode about the division of the property. What is the final punch in this episode? That the properties that you have acquired only start running from the day you married each other to the date you divorce. 2, the principle is once that property is being divided, it is direct contribution, that is monetary injection, and indirect contribution. We have dealt with that one. 3rd, we have defined how a matrimonial property is known. You understand which properties belong there. Properties registered in companies with other people are not in this division. Properties inherited and they are registered in trustees are not subject to these people. Be alert, continue watching Court Helicopter News. We shall be teaching you the law every weekend as it is. And that is why our catchphrase is, but what does the law say? Because there is what people say, but what does the law say? Wakili Danstan Omari, all the way from Mazingira in the forest, because this is a holiday for Mazingira, we decided to deal with your Mazingira, your trees, your property. Now we have dealt with your property in marriage. After you divorce, how do you deal with it? Thank you. See you next week when we shall be dealing with employment and the law. How does the law of employment relate? Are you a casual? Are you a permanent employee? Are you getting your maternity leave? Do you know husbands nowadays are given paternity leave and yet they don't carry any pregnancy? We shall be looking at the law of employment next week. Thank you and God bless you. Asante sana.